the article that we want to talk about, this is one that Vash brought to my attention. Let's talk about this one out of Business Insider. Disney has a kid crisis. Children used to grow up watching Mickey Mouse. Now they're on YouTube. Wait, children are watching us right now?
Oh, I hope not.
Uh-oh. Oh my. Well, that being said, we did click not for kids on this, despite the fact that we try to keep it clean. Well, let's blow this thing up here. Lucia Moses, what a cool name right there. When Bob Iger returned to Disney in late 2022 for his second tour as CEO, that's funny. That's almost like military language. The company was in dire straits. It had just reported poor earnings, was scrambling from unpopular business moves, and was left reeling from previous CEO Bob Chapek's bad press. They pulled it back there. I thought they were going to say his financial decisions, but it definitely is Bob Iger's financial decisions. Just a year later, Iger began to put the House of Mouse back in order. Citation needed. He delivered a strong earnings report in February, announced partnerships with Epic Games and Taylor Swift, and trumpeted a sports streaming platform. We have entered a new era. Iger effused to investors during his February earnings call, a nod to the news that Swift's Eras Tour film would stream exclusively on Disney Plus. In response, the company's stock price got a much needed boost, and investors rejected a public challenge by activist investor Nelson Peltz to exert control over the company. Wow, that's a lot all at once. Who wants to take the first shot?
I mean, look, I get so mad at the way because I was one of the people that bought into the whole Bob Chapek is the demon of Disney back when he was there. But then you realize Iger came in and changed nothing. He did not undo one single Bob Chapek thing. Maybe he got rid of a couple of the people that he put in power, but things like taking Genie Plus, things like taking away Magical Express, all the theme park changes that everyone hated, that all stayed. So I don't understand what people think Bob Iger is doing to put the company back on track, but it's clear that they were like, oh, these horrible Bob Chapek decisions. But I guess we just got to live with them now.
Well, it's just so funny because he got rid of D-Med, so I guess you can, talk it up to that. I'm not sure what implications it has for the entire company. I haven't really seen the benefits from that. But when Iger says it, it's okay. When Chapek said it, not okay. And that was the big difference there.
I'm going to say the Epic Games one, that $1.5 billion towards Epic Games, other than the fact that we don't know where that exactly came. I don't know if that was stock for stock or what, but that was probably a good one long term, because if Disney wants to be in the metaverse, it's better for Disney to invest in a gaming company and have the gaming company that they don't fully control do all of these things for them. But the Taylor Swift one, they spend $75 million on not many views on Disney Plus. So I would say the rise in stock price that maybe could be attributed to Taylor Swift, that was the reason that they spent that $75 million on Taylor Swift, as opposed to actual business reasons. So there's a lot of gamesmanship here where they're trying to move the stock price in a specific direction. This is why we often say no financial advice on this channel, but we have to talk about the stock price, because the stock price is the explanation for so many things that Bob Iger does with the Walt Disney Company at this point. Of course, Nelson Peltz, I guess, depending on how you look at it, he did lose the proxy fight, but he lost in a way that made him, more than $1 billion. Again, I would love to lose like Nelson Peltz loses, but he obviously did not get a board seat. And I'm not going to bring up the stock price again, but you can track on the stock price. The start of the Mama Odie is at the top of the stock price, and the Briar Patch is at the bottom of the stock price. There. So that's who they should add to the top of Splash Mountain, a Nelson Peltz animatronic. Maybe they can just refit one of those amazing ones from Home Depot that look better than some of the animatronics that they're selling in the parks. Investor celebration, however, was short-lived amid the declining TV business, dismal box office numbers, and the need to name a successor. Iger continues to face significant problems. Perhaps most concerning of all, Disney is losing its monopoly on kids.
Boom.
I'm going to say, if you've been following that park place, one of our first live streams was talking about Disney adults and the fact that Disney is marketing to adults right now. Very early on, we talked about the Haunted Mansion bar that's being added into I don't care which cruise ship it's on. I'm probably never going to go
It's the
onto it.
Treasure.
It's the treasure. Is the treasure done being built at this point?
It's probably done being built because I think it's no, you know what? It's not done being built because it starts in December, I believe.
I thought Scott Gustin updated and said that I think the rooms were just installed. Like it's
right.
very close to debuting.
Yeah.
Still in Germany, I assume.
Right. So taking things that were ostensibly for kids and turning them into something that is meant to sell alcohol to adults. I'm not going to say infantilize adults, but having been an infantilized adult who thought that Disney could do no wrong, I'm going to say infantilized adults. Okay, guys, I'm pointing the finger back at my former self here when I'm saying this. So I'm not trying to hurt you too much. Anybody who's there right now. The Disney Channel, once a gateway to all things Disney, plummeted from a top 10 network with nearly 2 million average daily primetime viewers in 2014 to number 80 with a measly 132,000 in 2023. Kids are now getting their TV fix on streaming, which accounts for 2/3 of TV watch time for children 2 to 11 per Nielsen estimates. There, YouTube has become king. Kids increasingly prefer to zone out for hours watching free short-form videos instead of full-length TV episodes and movies. In April, Nielsen estimated kids 2 to 11 watched 3 times as much YouTube as Disney Plus content. Meanwhile, Disney said in 2022 that over 60% of Disney Plus subscribers were adults without kids at home. Okay, so I think this is... I'm going to be extra mean when I point this out, but the idea that YouTube is kids zoning out and just turning something on, but that Disney on cable was not kids just turning something on and zoning out, I think that's over complimenting some of that Disney content.
You know, as far as the marketing to adults goes now, I think it's because kids are not that into Disney right now, so they are marketing nostalgia to the adults who grew up with it. You know, it's kind of like what we're seeing with the video games industry right now, where a lot of what comes out is aimed toward, 30, 40 somethings right now, because that's the generation that grew up playing video games from the early Nintendo. Whereas kids today probably just want to play on their phone, want to play on an iPad. It's a whole thing.
Agreed. Bill S. Preston Esquire, he's got a law degree there. Righteous. 2 to 11 years old, they shouldn't be on YouTube. You're probably right. Going to point that out. If any parents right now have their kids looking at a phone on YouTube at the moment, you might want to peek over their shoulder and check on what they're actually watching.
YouTube doesn't have like a setting where you can only watch like specific things for kids, or
they have
YouTube Kids.
Well, you have to let YouTube decide what's appropriate for kids in order to trust that setting. So,
because I know a lot of kids like to watch Miss Rachel and stuff like that. A lot of my friends,
Miss Rachel. I don't know if you're keeping up with Miss Rachel, but we're not gonna.
It's not an IP that I'm typically familiar with.
Let's just say she had a big June, and you know what happens in June.
Oh dear.
There you go. All right. Well, it looks like we're going to get a chart here. Kids are increasingly watching YouTube over Disney Plus. Actually, I'm going to point out something here from what you said, Marvin, that I meant to bring up. What you said about nostalgia content that's actually marketed to adults. So Young Jedi Adventures, I some of my kids were interested in that because they saw advertisements for it. They aren't really interested in episodes of it. I have a child who is interested in Super Kitties because she's interested in anything that has a cat in it, specifically kittens. But when she went to Marvel Superhero Island over at Islands of Adventure, for those of you who are somehow not aware, there is a Marvel Island due to existing contracts at a Universal park. Spider-Man is one of the biggest draws there. And this little girl loved Green Goblin because he's in Spidey and His Amazing Friends over there on Disney Junior. So it was funny. The Spider-Man actually said Spider-Man. Oh, she's watching Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which pre-existed the contract. So he's able to say that with no problems.
Oh, that's funny.
If he said Spidey and His Amazing Friends, I think he would have run afoul of some content agreements there. Anyhow, kids are increasingly watching YouTube over Disney Plus. No question there. YouTube accounting for 20% in April of 20. Oh my goodness. And 23% in April of 2024. This is even worse than the 10% that we're seeing overall. If this is 2 to 11, that's horrifying. Even kids
Yeah.
watching the 7.9%, sorry, 7.6%, look, it's declining. The 7.6% of Disney Plus right there is a little bit horrifying because there are a lot of things that are okay on the kids section of Disney Plus that maybe people aren't aware of. And if you aren't, by the way, go check out Everything Woke, hosted by me, Jonas J. Campbell. I don't know, you guys, I don't know how many kids you've got in your lives here, but this is I don't know which of these I would rank order as the best or worst at this point.
We've seen a huge seismic shift in entertainment on this front. This is why I gave you this article, Jonas, because I thought it was so profound. I mean, how often have we been hearing about? And this article doesn't really refer to it, and kind of it does, it downplays it, and talks about all kinds of other things. But parents today don't necessarily pass down Disney to their kids in the way they did before, just because of some of the associations that Disney has made, and some parents receding on that front right there. They just don't necessarily trust it. And so what does the next Disney generation look like? Sure, you can market to adults now, but like you said, Marvin, you can only do that because people have nostalgia for the way Disney used to be. If people don't actually grow up with Disney, where is that generation going to go? The other thing too, we see this at the parks as well. Previously Disney had a real lock on all things kids entertainment when it came to the parks and everything like that. That changed dramatically when the Wizarding World was introduced, and now kids growing up today have very similar emotions to the way that maybe you or I on this panel think about the parks when we were kids growing up. They have a very similar inclination towards Universal's parks in the same way we thought of Disney's parks before. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing this at multiple levels, and it's happening for a variety of reasons.
You both make really good points here, and you think about Star Wars at this point destroying its legacy here. Making Han Solo into a single dad. A deadbeat dad who can't even keep a marriage together, turning Princess Leia into the person who raised the next Darth Vader. Obviously, Luke Skywalker doesn't come out of that perfect. The less said about that, the better. But pretty much all of those legacy characters, except for Lando, who's just left with a, "Hi, I'm here to be the same person I've always been and try not to offend you too much." They basically destroy everything from the previous generation. Again, going to that idea that if the multi-generational people are showing up, they're going to leave, maybe whether or not they're offended, they maybe not feel very good about where things are going. I would compare it to if in 20 years we get a Rey movie where Rey is old and fat and decides that she needs to go live on an island by herself because she thought about murdering. Well, there's no other people in this. There's no Skywalkers left for her to murder. So I don't know, a relative of some kind.
I think Rey would be Rick at that point, right?
They kill that multi-generational aspect of all of the things that they do here. And Marvel is kind of in that direction as well, as the like we've talked about, the MCU. As much as I push back on that phrase at the start, Gary from Nerdrotic is right. They really did go and create a female counterpart to almost every single one of their characters. And that female counterpart is, in most cases, better at the job than the person that they are replacing. So it becomes very... One, that's boring. If someone comes along and they quote unquote do it better, then you've removed conflict from it. But also it lessens the thing that you're booting off of here. Now, we probably should continue, but do you guys have anything before we do that?
This is the hole that Disney has dug itself in. And it went from being the brand for families and kids to just kind of being a nostalgia brand for adults now. And that's kind of where it's at. And unless they can get those kids now, you're going to have generations later, 30 and 40 somethings who have no nostalgia for Disney. And then that's when Disney fizzles out.
Totally agree.
There's a paragraph in that article talking about like Cocomelon being like the number one show and how and it's I don't think Disney has really created that content that really appeals to kids and really kind of brings them in or making the adjustments necessary in order to bring kids in. They're not doing that. And if they are, well, they're doing it for ideological reasons, of course.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. No, this cocomelon paragraph is actually really good because it speaks to some of the problems at Disney as well. Now, not so much. The most popular kids show for the past 2 years was Cocomelon, a show made by Moonbug Entertainment that airs on Netflix. That is an oversimplification. That is a YouTube show that is also on Netflix. Cocomelon is very much a YouTube show, and it's also on Netflix and becomes one of the biggest shows in streaming when it's also on Netflix and is a huge hit with kids.
What's funny is that Disney does have one show on its service that is a hit with kids, and that's Bluey.
Right.
That's the one.
Bluey is enjoyed by a ton of kids and weird adults everywhere.
Oh, how dare you, sir?
I've met many adults without kids who have a weird fascination.
Oh, okay, without kids.
No, I'm talking adults without kids. I'm like, what? They're like, you have to watch Bluey. I'm like, why would I do that?
It's I don't know. I'm going to tell you that the quality on that show, it speaks to the universality of the human experience. Bluey is a treasure. I actually suggested to Pro one time, like, if I ever do a rewatch podcast, I'm thinking about doing it on Bluey. That being said, that probably is never going to happen. But anyways, Moonbug, which was acquired in 2021 by two former Disney executives.
Who were those two former Disney executives? The names are just at the tip of my tongue, Jonas. I can't think of them right now.
The Tom Staggs and Kevin Mayer.
Oh, of Candle Media. Oh, right. Yeah, that's real fun.
They were just low-level Disney executives, right? They had no chance of getting the CEO position. They were like head of confectionery for the parks, and the other one was like a low-level producer on That's So Raven, right?
Yeah, they were inconsequential to speak of. Tom Staggs, when he left the company unceremoniously, he was the CFO of the company. He was the CFO. Changed roles with Jay Rasulo to become the head of the Parks and Resorts division at that point, and then Kevin Mayer. What was his official title? I do forget, but he was the one that basically championed the entire streaming effort initially on Disney's behalf.
Right. He was head of international, I do believe, before he left and went to TikTok. And then let's not get into politics before he quickly left to TikTok for reasons of his own choosing, I'm going to assume. Here we go. Has quickly gained on giants like Disney, Paramount, and Comcast, clinching the number 5 spot for kids entertainment on YouTube in 2023. According to Tubular, a social video analytics company on YouTube, shows featuring child stars reign supreme. Channels like Kids Diana Show with 123 million subscribers, Ryan's World with 37 million have each captured the attention of millions of children. And that's not even accounting for the channels that are just Let's Plays, essentially gameplay streams of acceptable content for children and some not so acceptable content for children that goes to children. Anyways, again, somebody said, I'm sorry, Jonas, I'm not going to let my kids watch YouTube. You're agreeing with me, so that's not something you should apologize for. This entire situation is fascinating to me because Disney, like you've said, has essentially lost the kids market. Every now and then they'll put out something that will be of appeal to children, but mostly it's the Bluey company. Obviously, 30% of all streaming on Disney Plus is Bluey right now, and the other 30% is the tens of billions of dollars that they spend on content. And I'm assuming the other 30% is archive content. So this streaming service could be profitable if they just stop spending all that money on the billions there. And this is the multi-generational issue that they have here.
Just going to thank Disney Fan 55 for sending me that article for purposes today, because man, oh man, it was a doozy, and it really sheds some much needed light on a particularly bad situation for Disney long term.
Yep. She's great.
That was a highlight from our live stream on That Park Place, where the full stream can be accessed by members to the That Park Place YouTube channel. But what about you? What do you think about this very intriguing and fascinating story? Please let us know in the comments below. Like this video if you did like this video. Share us out, as it helps us out tremendously against the YouTube algorithm. And thank you so much for watching. T3BO. Please comment, like, and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to That Park Place Podcasts Online, your source for exclusive content and highlights from WDW Pro, The Pro Show, and That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.